FNAF Fangames vary immensely, but one thing that tends to unify them is a door, oddly enough. In this video, I want to talk about why this happens and how this became the norm, despite later entries in the mainline series not even having them. I think one of the first big reasons there's so many door system is just that it's simple. It's a door. I mean, there's not much to think about, but surprisingly, as you delve more into the design of these games, at least the good ones, you realize how much a simple mechanic like this can influence the very fabric of how these systems work. Look at 5 Newfangled Nights, a game that is, in principle, a rubber hose style FNAF 1, but is changing a few things. Notably, the door. This absolutely changes so much about the game despite being so small. There are a solid 4 different mechanics relating to just this single door, and it's insane how important it really is. You've got Chica, who has to walk past the door so you have to keep it open, the 2 animatronics who will come to your door, Bonnie and Foxy, and the final mechanic, Chica's Cupcake, which isn't technically directly related to a door threat, but as you have to hold down the door instead of click it, if you don't deal with the cupcake itself, you might lose control of the door, effectively making you lose if you aren't at the end of the night. As you can see, even in games as simple as this, the emergent gameplay coming from a simple door cannot be understated. Now that I've introduced doors as a concept in FNAF Fangames, I want to talk about the original FNAF and how such a deceptively simple mechanic became so iconic. Before we begin, please subscribe, as I'm nearing 1k subs, and also you should comment below any constructive criticism you have, as I'm still very new to this whole video essay thing, and join my Discord. FNAF 1 is a bit of an odd case, as, despite the sheer complexity of later iterations of door systems, it really isn't all that unique. Obviously, it's the pioneer of the sit and survive genre. This in and of itself makes it revolutionary, but it's interesting to note that the doors really only serve one purpose mechanically: to block out animatronics. Of course, that's what every game does, and that doesn't entirely mean it has no foils. I mean, you've got like Foxy where you have to be on the cameras. But I just mean more so that the doors don't directly have a full counter mechanic like it does in other games. In most modern fan games, you have both doors and some actionable mechanic that offsets the usage of these doors. Chica in 5 Newfangled Nights, like I said before, Pal Percy in Playtime with Percy, or just how long it takes to close doors in Five Nights at Chuck E. Cheese's Rebooted. What sets these apart from FNAF 1 is that, in the original game, this mechanic isn't an action or a true counterbalance mechanic. It's a resource, power. Now, I have some gripes with power as a system, see my last video for that, but in this game, it's used as an interesting offset to the doors. This isn't even mentioning the fact that every threat in the game is handled by these doors, and the fact that there are 2 of them, which of course adds to the complexity. It seems mostly that Fangames originally took this idea purely because they didn't really know how to make more unique mechanics, but as time goes on, people have gotten more and more creative with the emergent gameplay stemming from this mechanic. One of my favorite uses of a door in a FNAF fan game is Five Nights at Chuck E. Cheese Rebooted. The way it handles doors is super interesting, since it's one of the games where there isn't power, but instead the door has to be held down like 5 Newfangled Nights. In this case though, the door closes very slowly, making it absolutely terrifying and stressful, which is a valid response when the only thing standing between you and a killer animatronic is like a 2-inch door. This mechanic's primary foil is the old Chuck E. Cheese animatronic that has to be watched from the camera, since if he gets to your door, he will literally grab it and pry it open. Genuinely terrifying, and in my opinion, one of the best doors in terms of pure horror in pretty much any FNAF fan game I played. Yeah, I think it's probably the best one in terms of pure horror, which is impressive. But when it comes to doors in a mechanical sense, I think Tierland has it beat. The game quite literally revolves around you traversing through 2 different rooms, and relies on using a door to fend off against almost every animatronic in the game. Unlike many other games, the doors are already closed. You merely just need to stay out of the hallway past the door, most of the time, or go into it. Some animatronics need that. It's also interesting that this game makes use of a mechanic where you can peek through a keyhole to see who's on the other end. Overall, just making for a super interesting door that I think really does well in not being like all the other doors. The final example of a FNAF fan game door I want to talk about is Forgotten at Fredbear's. In this game, instead of any sort of simple door that's just a button or a lever, you have to straight up do a timing minigame to keep Spring Bonnie the animatronic out of your room. This, coupled with the other office threats and handling the cameras, makes for a super solid mechanic that I hope more games employ from now on. Of the FNAF fan games I've played, it's the only one to use kind of a mini game as a door mechanic. Definitely something I also want to use at some point in my own games, as it's just super cool and it's one of my favorite things. I love it. To close this out, overall, I think looking at FNAF fangame doors is super interesting, despite the seemingly dull topic. There's so much people have done with them that it's just insane to me. The creativity is through the roof, and I can tell people are just gonna somehow innovate more and more. This doesn't mean every single FNAF fangame door has to be super complex. Polar Dread is one of my favorite fan games of all time, maybe my favorite. It's an amazing VR game, and it just uses the normal door. It just has a lot of other mechanics that are interesting enough to be entertaining. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, and join my Discord.